science helps us understand cause and effect and how things work. It shows us that everything that is here now was caused by something that happened before it. According to science, everything we see now can be traced back to the Big Bang, when everything in the universe expanded out from a point of singularity faster than the speed of light. Right now, it's impossible to make any observations beyond that point, but it raises a lot of interesting questions. What happened before the Big Bang? What caused the Big Bang? What did it expand into? And why did it happen? Science can't tell us any of those things right now. However, science and logic tell us that everything is contingent upon something else. So what is our universe and our existence contingent upon? Is it God? You can get a lot of different opinions on that depending on who you ask. There certainly isn't a consensus on this topic. Science also doesn't offer any guidance on this topic. My own deep curiosity about nature and the way things work led me to study science and engineering in school. But the deeper I dug into the answers, the more questions I had. This meant I needed different tools to find the answers I was seeking to the deeper questions about life and our existence. I needed a more holistic approach to find out why. This is what led me to Zen. Zen is a practice that uses questioning and meditation to understand the deepest truths about ourselves and our connections to everything else. After all of my studies, all that I can say for sure about the universe is that everything we know is contingent upon our observations. This means that everything we know is contingent upon an observer or a conscious agent that makes these observations. That observer could be me or it could be you. We can also infer that other things are conscious based on their behavior. But the only consciousness that you can be sure of that absolutely exists is your own, through your own subjective experiences. This subjective experience is what gives us our sense of self, or what we call the ego. So where does this sense of a unified and independent self come from? Some would say your brain. But if you pinch your finger, it feels like your mind is in your finger. In truth, our self, our feeling of self, is distributed through about 90 billion neurons. Cutting off communication between any part of your body can affect your ability to act in a unified manner. So it's not really clear where the self is. There have been experiments on people who've had brain injuries or surgeries that disconnect different parts of the brain. One surgery that's been used to treat epilepsy cuts off the communication between the right and the left brain. People who've had this surgery exhibit different levels of awareness depending on which senses and which side of their body they perceive certain things on. The visual sensors and the ability to communicate with speech are actually on opposite sides of the brain. Since there's no communication between the sides of the brain, people who've received the surgery are unable to speak about what they saw. If you show them an object, they respond as if they haven't seen anything, despite clear evidence that they did. In these cases, it almost seems as if they have different levels of consciousness and awareness within the same body, because different parts of the brain are unable to communicate. The disruption of communication between different parts of the body can also be observed when we use anesthetics on different parts of our body, or when somebody is sleepwalking. Someone who's sleepwalking can seem to be aware and conscious, but they have no recollection of their actions. I mention this because This all seems to suggest that our sense of oneness is derived from the ability of various parts of our body to communicate. Two eyes can perceive different angles of the same thing, and if they're connected to the same brain, they can share the information and provide more depth to the experience. The more senses you use, the more robust the picture and multidimensional your understanding of the world is. Our sense of self comes from the ability of the various parts of our being to communicate and cooperate. All of these parts collectively form our consciousness. You could make an argument that you could also expand your awareness by communicating with other people around you. You could use their experiences to enrich your own perspective and understanding of the world. The better your cooperation and communication is, the better your understanding will be. The more in tune you are with nature and the things around you, the more heightened your awareness becomes. If you're able to recognize how interconnected everything is, your consciousness can extend well beyond the bounds of your body. For instance, if you understand the science of astronomy, you could know what's going to happen in the far reaches of the universe just by observing the stars. In Buddhism, we call this understanding about the truth of nature Dharma. This is why I teach these classes. I'm trying to remind you of these connections and bring this awareness to the forefront of your mind. Meditation can help us let go of our preconceptions and understand these connections better. If we're able to let go of the idea that our self is constrained within our body, we can become more aware of our interconnectedness to the world that we live in and the connections that we have to the very fabric of our existence in the universe. The more you can communicate and cooperate with others around you, the more heightened your awareness will become. This communication and cooperation is a form of compassion. The more we can communicate and cooperate, the more we can work together to understand our world and the universe. We can then use that knowledge to reduce our own suffering. This is the point of Buddhism, to help us attain freedom from suffering. The internal feeling that compels you to find harmony with nature and the people around you is called love. This is why love and compassion are the foundation of Buddhism. It helps us to understand the Dharma and the truth of nature. We use meditation to let go of our ego, opinion, and desires so that we can understand ourselves and our connections to everything that exists. We can use this awareness to reduce our own suffering, and by sharing this knowledge, we can help others do the same. In practice, this process helps us all find harmony within the universe.